It's the Sports Peninsula Podcast. Coming up on this special episode, we're conducting our 8th annual 2025 NFL First Round Mock Draft. We'll go through each pick and analyze team needs along the way, kicking off our 8th season of NFL Draft coverage at the Sports Peninsula Podcast. Who is your favorite team looking to draft on day one in Green Bay on Thursday, April 24th? Find out who we have coming to your town next. Now, here is your Sports Peninsula team. Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Peninsula Podcast. My name is Dave Drew. This is Coach Andy Shield, and we're talking NFL Draft. Today, our first round mock draft. And, Coach, we're kicking off our 8th season, our 8th year doing this. Love doing this with you, Coach. Talk to me about it.
Time flies when you're having fun. Time flies when you're having fun, Drew. It doesn't seem like it's been 8 years at all. It's really hard to believe. But it's been a lot of fun doing this with you, man. And there's only one guy I'd ever do it with like this. And, Coach Scarcelli, who was part of our team, is elevated as we always wanted him to, and now works for Rivals and works with Dennis Fithian on some Michigan stuff, which has been great. But it's really the foundation and core has been you and I, and, of course, Officer Merriquin, and our phenomenal comrade, Mr. Brad Harrison, helps us out with a lot of Lions stuff too. But this is kind of the nuts and bolts of this, isn't it, Drew? This is kind of where it all started.
Yeah, really it is. This is what this was our cornerstone, so to speak. And then it's branched out into Lions and U of M. And then, like I said, when Coach Scarcelli went to the Maize and Blue review with Dennis Fithian, and then we scaled back to Lions. And then we got into more combat sports, and then we transitioned off another show on that. So that's been really great. But this has been the bread and butter, without question, football. And we'll do as much as we can. We talk Red Wing draft. We talk some of the other sports. Yeah, we'd love to do more. We don't have time. We just don't have time to do it. So, but at the end of the day, let's talk about our wardrobe choices before we jump into this, Coach. I'll start with you. What do you got on?
Well, I'm celebrating our alma mater. Folks, a good majority of us on this podcast are Western Michigan graduates, proud graduates of the Western Michigan University, who last Saturday, one week ago today, won the NCAA Men's National Hockey Championship, defeating Boston University 6-2. To claim their first ever national championship in hockey, and really it's the third national championship in school history. That we won a couple of cross country national championships in the mid '60s, but it's a big deal. It's a big deal in Kalamazoo. We're very proud alums. We were talking a little bit about this before we started to record. We were fortunate enough, and you actually attended the Cotton Bowl game in January of 2017 when Western Michigan went undefeated. And translate that 10 years down the road, we would have been a college football playoff team too. So we're very, very proud of our footprint. Now, you and I weren't athletes there, but we were always supporters of the Broncos and enjoyed our time immensely. I wouldn't do it any other way. And celebrating those Broncos. I see an ugly sweater of sorts that you're sporting there, and that's a little Honolulu blue and silver, I see.
Yeah, I've worn this before, and people are going to say, well, that don't make no sense, Drew, because it's April, and that's Christmas time. Well, this is Christmas time for a lot of NFL.
You got that right.
And at the end of the day, this used to be definitely our Super Bowl and Christmas for Detroit Lions fans. It's not our Super Bowl anymore. We got bigger things going on in Detroit, but this is focused on every team. So we're doing a first round mock, and ironically, this is one of the few years that there hasn't been any trades prior to the draft of the first round. So at this point, every team has their first round pick. There may be some trades. There's very likely going to be some trades, but Coach, there has not been any real hot irons on the fire yet. And we're recording this on April 19th, 5 days before the draft. So will there be movement? Probably, but I'm not hearing a lot. Are you hearing any rumors kind of percolating?
No, and yes, you usually do, and oftentimes, like you had said, there has been moves made as early as this time. There's going to be trades made in the first round on day one. We typically don't do that here, just because it's so difficult to forecast. We don't know who those trade partners are going to be. Very likely, our team, the Detroit Lions, are in a position to where they could very well do that, depending on the players that have come up the board. Our general manager, Brad Holmes, has a reputation and a history of trading up as well. So the likelihood that happens is relatively high. We have not done that here just because we don't know who they'd be trading with. And we could, that really kind of just, starts to scramble around the rat's nest, so to speak. So we try to make it as poignant as possible. But there's going to be movement for sure.
Yeah, no question. So let's jump into it, Coach, right now. We're going to start off with the Tennessee Titans. I have the odd picks. You had the even number picks. So starting off in this draft, the Tennessee Titans in the first round, where there's smoke, there's fire. All we're hearing about is Cam Ward, the quarterback out of the University of Miami, the U, going to the Titans. And bottom line is, this is a very talented young man, Coach. Very rally warrior, excellent improviser and playmaker. He's a leader. He's got tremendous accuracy. He's the number one quarterback on our board and number one quarterback on most sports. He's got a great arm. He's made great yearly progress, and he really can make big plays as a runner. So he's multifaceted. Really like to see Cam Ward in Tennessee, Coach. They have Will Levis there, but obviously that's not working out quite the way they want to. So I see Ward going to the Titans at 1.
Probably in their best interest. To move on. It really is. From Will Levis, from a standpoint of, we just didn't really see enough from him that was going to look like sustaining. Yeah, rookies can struggle and stumble, but they can also show that they may not be really long for a starting position. Cam Ward is a different prospect than Will Levis in regards to what he brings to the table. He's just a little bit, he does a little of the other things just a little bit better, and in some a lot better. He was an elite level playmaker at 3 different colleges and at 2 Power 5s and finished his career at the U. He's marvelous. I think that by all accounts, Coach Callahan and crew are going to set the stages, and Cam Ward's going to be their guy. 100%.
Yeah, definitely, Coach. Now you're the GM of the Cleveland Browns. You have the second pick. Who are you going with?
Yeah, well, I tell you what, we labored over this a little bit, and there were some things that different routes that they could go. But when you have a prospect that can play 2 different positions at the highest of levels, I think really it's the safest pick in so many ways for the Cleveland Browns to draft cornerback out of the University of Colorado and wide receiver out of the University of Colorado, Travis Hunter. I tell you what, he's a cornerback first. That's where he's going to align himself, and he's a tremendous, great athlete. Cornerbacks typically aren't always looked at and sought after this high in the draft. There's a lot of, kind of boomer bust type of billing sometimes corners can have when you draft him this high. This is a special talent, folks, and the Browns are getting a good one. He is a warrior. He is a tremendously competitive player. He's really a violent physical hitter. He does not miss tackles. And he stays on top of receivers because in the end, folks, he is a receiver. This is a player that could go to the other side of the football very easily. He does not drop the football. If his hands get on it and it's a completable pass, it's caught. This is a high-level competitor that could help the Cleveland Browns really elevate things and maybe become more of a contender in that AFC North in the playoff picture. What do you think, Drew?
Yeah, too much talent and too much versatility to pass up here for Cleveland. I agree. And you're right about the cornerback position being kind of boom or bust there. But Travis Hunter is going to be a very good cornerback in the NFL, and he very well could be a very good receiver as well. You just can't pass it up. He just checks too many boxes in Cleveland. So I agree with you, Coach. I think this is a very, very good pick, and I'm very, very strongly think that Cleveland's going to go this route without question. So now I'm the New York Giants at number 3, and Coach, I labored over this one because the Giants made a second visit to see Shedeur Sanders work out. And you say, well, maybe that's the direction they're going. But then they also signed Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston in the offseason. So then you wonder, okay, well, do you really need to do that? So at the end of the day, my thought process is they can wait another year, and they're going to go with Abdul Carter, the edge rusher out of Penn State. And Coach, just so much to like about Abdul Carter. He's the number 1 edge on our board and every board we saw consensusly leading up to this mock draft. just an amazing athlete. He's got blazing speed and quickness. He's a tough player. He's got get off. He comes through physical and mental adversity. He's very focused, just outstanding in space. He can jump back into box linebacker or lineman and play, which is excellent attribute on his part. He's a serious pass disruptor. He's an elite block shedder. He's got an athletic ability to just do everything well out there, and he maintains a tight arc in the pass rush. Coach, Abdul Carter is the real deal, and I see him going to Big Blue. Now, I've been hearing rumors that Kayvon Thibodeau could be moved. That would make that trade would make even more sense if they go with Carter. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and I think the signing of Wilson and Winston, it kind of shows that they are willing to push the quarterback their situation down the road a little bit and roll with those veteran players. You hear Kayvon Thibodeau being moved as a potential package, around the league. This is potentially the best player in the draft from a standpoint of what he brings to the table for his position. He's an amazing athlete, and he's got all those recovery traits that Micah Parsons has. He's not dissimilar to Micah Parsons in many, many ways. The Giants really win big with this pick.
Yeah, and there could be some gamesmanship too there where the Giants are maybe feigning more interest in Sanders than they really have to try and lure a trade back scenario, because there's a couple of teams that certainly could be in the market for Shedeur Sanders in this draft. But yeah, I agree, Coach. Abdul Carter makes a lot of sense here at 3 for the Giants. Number 4 pick, the New England Patriots. Coach, who you got?
Patriots, and we labored with this one a little bit, but we know this is kind of a trend breaker. But when as far as this position, but when there's a running back that really possesses some of the traits that this individual has in his running style, and really kind of also exhibits some of the character traits that you want that are not dissimilar to a guy like a Saquon Barkley, I think it's somebody you really can't miss on. And, Mike Vrabel is now the guy in New England, and he wants to run the football. So with the 4th pick in the 2025 draft, the New England Patriots are going to select Ashton Jeanty out of Boise State. Best running back in this draft, and it's not even close. It's not even close. We're going to have another running back down the road who's very, very good, but this one's a little bit different. He is a bell cow. He can be out there for the vast majority of all reps. He can be the guy that gets 90% of your carries from the handoff in the rushing game. He has got great balance through contact. He does not go down easily. He is not a guy that you can arm tackle. He is not a guy that oftentimes can be tackled with one player. He's got great vision. If there's a natural-born running back in this draft, Ashton Jeanty is that player. He's got great twitch. He's got long speed. He can rip off home runs in the NFL easily and be a game breaker. Going to change things for Drake May and that offense. Ashton Jeanty is going to be a Patriot, Drew.
Yeah, and they're going to be real happy to have him. He gave chase to Barry Sanders all-purpose yardage record last season. He's just a tremendous player. His workouts just were eye-popping. The guy's rocked up. He's thick. He's got everything. He's a total package. He would be highly regarded even if he came out in that Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs draft. He'd be right up there with those guys. That's how good he is. So yeah, I totally see this possibly happening there, Coach. That makes a lot of sense.
And like you had mentioned, if not to the Pats, he'd go to the Raiders. I know the Bears would be licking their chops to get this guy. I don't think they're going to get him unless they trade up.
Great point. That's exactly right. That's how we see it for sure. Number 5 pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars. And you know what, Coach? Bottom line is, as many mocks as we've seen, as many mocks as we've done ourselves, there just seems to be a constant here as the Jaguars need some help on their D-line. And this prospect fits the bill every time. And that is Mason Graham, defensive tackle out of the University of Michigan. We know him very well, being from the Detroit area. Mason Graham, almost consensus number 1. There's a couple D tackles that are highly thought of, but Mason Graham's definitely our number 1 on the board. Very, very impressive mobility and movement skills. He's alignment versatile along the interior. He's a violent competitor. He's got great hands. He's a wrestler at heart, and he's got explosive strength, and that's key inside there in the trenches. He's got great leverage. He's a leverage extraordinary player. Really, he's been tremendously coached and really a seasoned student of the game. He's a fluid slanter and stunter too. He does everything well on the defensive line, Coach. Talk about Mason Graham for a moment.
Yeah, I mean, this game has evolved through the years and through the decades and through the eras into this modern form, which is a very much a passing athlete's game. That being said, this position has not evolved completely that way. You still need tough, rugged, athletic, big guys that can move and pound, can do both things. High school, or elite level wrestlers are phenomenal defensive linemen, and Mason Graham was that at Servite High School down in Anaheim, California, and he came over to the University of Michigan, and really was under recruited. I mean, because he is clearly the best defensive tackle in this draft. This is a no brainer, and I think a lot of mock drafts have Mason Graham going to the Jags. Home run by the Jags, great pick.
Yeah, would like him a lot. He's going to have a very good pro career without question. Well, Coach, we talked about the Raiders a little bit earlier. If Genty was there, they would take him. But in our draft, he is not. He's a Patriot. So who do you got going to the Raiders?
Yeah, Mike Vrabel and company kind of stole their thunder a little bit in this one. And it's tough because the Raiders could go a lot of different ways. They made a significant move at quarterback in the offseason by acquiring Geno Smith. And so that kind of checks that box. We're not going to be talking about Shedeur Sanders here. Could they look at some other offensive talents? They could. Could they look in the offensive line? They could. However, defense wins championships, and the best Raider teams throughout history. This is a very, very hallowed franchise in NFL and AFL history. This is a winning franchise. They've not done a lot of winning as of late, but this is a winning franchise that Bruce Davis has and inherited from his father. And if he's going to be in the same vein, you're going to need tough, rugged defensive players and guys that can make plays. And that's where the Raiders are going. They are going to draft Texas cornerback Jahdae Barron with the 6th pick. Now, this is a guy that you throw the ball up and he wants to go up and make a play. He is going to be a 50-50 guy, and he's going to come down and win those things, even with his more diminutive size. Great tackler, which you're going to need to be able to still do as a corner. Great processor. He understands defensive back play throughout the college level, and that's going to translate well for him. And he will be a guy that can play a lot and play a lot early. He's a physical press man guy. He's great on specials. He really can diagnose routes and jump routes real well. He's got a great blend of instincts and technique. So he's natural and he's coached up, and he understands what he's doing. This is a win here, Drew, in my opinion. This is a real win. What do you think of Jahdae Barron with the Raiders?
Like him a lot. I mean, we had him number 3 in the position group, but we're splitting hairs really with the top 3 because there's some really talented corners in this draft. And Barron on a lot of boards is number 1. Like I said, on ours he's number 3, but again, it's like splitting hairs. I think it makes a lot of sense to go to the Raiders. And you're right, defense wins championships, and that's what Mr. Barron's going to bring to the table. He's going to help him a lot in that secondary, no question about it. On to number 7 pick, the New York Jets. So now here's a team, initially they may look quarterback, but they signed Justin Fields. So they have a solid quarterback who played some in Pittsburgh, obviously, and played a lot in Chicago. He's been obviously up and down. So he's bouncing around a little bit here, but there's still a lot of talent there, Coach. And there may be a need at receiver, but they still have a Garrett Wilson there. So there's players. They have Breezy Hall at running back. So they've got an offense going. Their defense is actually pretty good. So they need to really protect their quarterback. When they had Aaron Rodgers there for a hot minute, his first snap 2 years ago, second snap, I should say, he tore his Achilles. He was out for the year. Last year was a disaster. They need help up front, and that's where they're going to go. Will Campbell, the offensive tackle out of LSU. Lot to like about Will Campbell. Coach, he's our number 2 tackle on our board. But Will Campbell, and again, kind of splitting hairs there too. The top 3 or 4 tackles on the board are very, very close in this draft. he's got a mean streak, and he's from the snap to the whistle, man. He plays tough and hard. He's strong. He's physical. He's got great functional athleticism and flexibility. He loves the run block. He's great in pass protection. He's just got pro functional athleticism, and he's got a great understanding of the game, and he's got a great high football IQ coach. The Jets have needed offensive line help, and maybe now they'll finally have their anchor at the tackle position. Talk about Will Campbell.
Yeah, this is a home run. This is a guy that is, again, very like Abdul Carter, Drew. Is a guy that could be number 1 overall. I mean, in a lot of drafts, he would be. He possesses the size and frame, is a mobile, athletic offensive tackle, and he's mean. He's mean. So this is a staple player that really has all pro, an all pro ceiling. He does. Health being on his side, real good chance. This is a Pro Bowl offensive line, and Aaron Glenn does the wise thing by building out that offensive line for whomever winds up being the long-term quarterback for the New York Jets, and their running game is going to help that defense remain a possible, top level defense, and elevate the Jets maybe into the playoffs one of these days pretty soon.
Yeah, I really like Campbell a lot. I think it makes sense here, the Jets first at 7. Now let's go to pick 8, Coach. You've got the Carolina Panthers. Who are you looking at?
Going with the Carolina Panthers, and I know we're breaking the trend a little bit here by picking 3 players of 3 positional players of a position that you don't usually see drafted in the top 10. But we're going to go with a guy that was, for a good majority of the time, considered the top corner in the draft for this coming up year. Kind of cut bait with or kind of cut loose with the season and shut things down with a would-be injury, but kind of started preparing, or we thought would be preparing for the draft a little ahead of time, but it's been a little enigmatic late. However, highly talented and a guy that can really revolutionize the secondary for the Carolina Panthers. We're going with our second University of Michigan prospect and Grosse Pointe South's own Will Johnson. He's a longer, bigger corner. He's kind of more of the prototypical size. This guy can run too. And he's a great football processor. When it comes all together and Will Johnson's 100% healthy and ready to go, this, I think, is the best cornerback in this draft. He leverages the sideline better than probably John A. Barron does. And in some ways, he does that even better than Travis Hunter. He can really push guys towards the sideline and end up making a play on the ball himself. Real comfortable man coverage guy. Showed some elite ball skills at the age of 18 in his true freshman year. Wound up starting as a true freshman for Michigan in that window of all those great Michigan teams. Just a great tough press man cover. Kind of everything what a modern NFL quarterback is Will Johnson, and the Panthers get better on defense here.
Yeah, real important too. Yeah, there were a couple directions they could have went, and they may go offense, but I like this pick a lot. I think this makes the most sense, and it's a sensible pick. You got defense wins championships, and to me it's easier to find a receiver than it is a corner. It just is. So when you have Will Johnson sitting there at 8, you got to pull that trigger. If you want a receiver that bad, you can try to trade back up into the first round because there's going to be talent there. But this is the pick to make. I agree with you, Coach. Like this one a lot. At pick 9, the New Orleans Saints. So this one was kind of up in the air until very recently. We heard about Derek Carr having a shoulder injury, and it may require him to miss the entire season. At the very least, he's going to miss significant time. And we also know that he's likely not the long-term answer there in New Orleans. So that being said, this is the team that pulls the trigger and drafts Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback out of Colorado. He's a number 2 quarterback on our board, Coach, and on most boards in around the NFL. But talking about Shedeur Sanders, he's got a high ceiling. His ceiling is just as high as Cam Ward's, and some may argue even higher. The floor may be a little lower than Cam Ward's. We shall see. But he's an extremely accurate college passer. He's mobile and athletic. He's got a blue chip pedigree. He's followed his dad, Deion Sanders, was coach at Jackson State and then went to Colorado. He followed his dad there, and it makes perfect sense. And he's been outstanding in both schools. He's got a quick release on his passes. He's got a commanding, confident presence out there when he's on the field and in the huddle. He's very efficient in pre-snap reads. He's a great reader of defenses, and he's got great body language and demeanor. The stage is never too big for him, and he's very secure with the ball. So there's a lot to like about Shedeur Sanders, Coach. I don't think there's any slam dunk quarterback in this league that is guaranteed to be an all-pro, but if there's two of them that have that ability, for sure it's Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. Talk about Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, in this draft for sure. You know, when you have quarterbacks like Tom Brady and Joe Montana and Dan Marino and Drew Brees, which the New Orleans Saints, thrived under for many, many years, the Manning, Peyton Manning, all these types of guys, it's very, very difficult to replace them if you can replace them at all. And they poked around and had Jameis Winston in there. They've got Derek Carr. But Derek Carr appears to have a fairly significant injury, one of which could be very limiting for him for a long period of time. And really what you do with the Shedeur Sanders pick with New Orleans is you address this position potentially for the next 10 years. Shedeur Sanders has all those traits to be a long-term starter in the NFL. So he is a guy that wants to throw the football. He is not just going to be a scrambler and a runner. He's going to be a little bit more patient with throwing than maybe a Cam Ward is. However, maybe does he make as many plays as Cam Ward does in the NFL? We shall see. But this is a great job by the Saints in securing a player that could be a very, very long-term fit. Something that they had with their quarterback before when the Saints were really winning a lot of football games.
Yeah, exactly, Coach. Great synopsis. Now we move to tick 10 and the Ben Johnson-led Chicago Bears.
The Ben Johnson era has begun with the Chicago Bears. They have done a lot on the offensive side and addressing some things in the draft of the past and drafting their quarterback and lead wide receiver in the first 10 picks last year because they had 2 first-round picks in the top 10. They spent a lot of money on the offensive line and free agency this past offseason. So I don't see them going on offense. And this breaks my heart because this is one of my favorite players going to one of my least favorite teams. And I'm not afraid to admit that on this air. Sorry, Bears fans. That's the way it is. I know you feel the same way about me. So with that being said, Chicago, you're going to be real happy because you guys have a great football franchise and a great football history, and you have done very, very well by having a lead dog in the middle of that defense, and you're getting one again. The Chicago Bears are going to get Jihad Campbell of the University of Alabama, and this is kind of a defensive unicorn. He is a linebacker by trade, but you could put him on the edge as well. He has to get a long, lean frame that really translates all over the place on defense these days. Regardless, if you're an edge player, a linebacker, a defensive back, all 3 levels have that kind of framed player on there and thriving. He's great in coverage, and he can also play the edge and rush the passer. You can do so many different things with him. He's an explosive, heavy hitter, very efficient tackler. He's got great burst when he blitzes. He's going to be a defensive muse the DC is going to love him, and he's going to be a muse for them. He's going to make the Bears a lot better and a lot better soon. I know Ben Johnson plans on having that kind of impact, but Jihad Campbell is going to be really, really a major catalyst in the evolution of the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, that's a guy you want to trade up for if you can. I mean, honestly, he's that talented. He's an elite edge rusher, and like you said, he's a linebacker by trade. I mean that resume compares to, or skill set compares to Micah Parsons, who was a linebacker out of Penn State, and we talked about him earlier because of Abdul Carter. Love Jihad Campbell. Yeah, that breaks my heart, but it's the pick to make, and it would make a lot of sense for Chicago to do this. To your point, they really did a lot to address the offensive side of the football this year on the line and last year during the draft. Time to look at the defense, which is already pretty decent, but it's going to get better with Jihad Campbell. Number 11 pick for the San Francisco 49ers, Coach. So, this is a very good football team that was ravaged by injuries. Now, that's not an excuse because nobody gave that as an excuse for our Lions, and they were ravaged by injuries as well. but it happens, and it's amazing what the Lions were able to do with all those injuries. The Niners weren't as successful. They lost a lot of guys on the offensive side of the football for a lot of games last year. Really took a toll on them. So we're looking at that side of the football in this draft, and we're looking at a guy we didn't have, Armand Membo, offensive tackle out of Mizzou, Missouri. He's number 17 on our board. Now, our board, we started this back in late January, and Membo was a late bloomer, quite frankly, Coach. And I'll talk about him in detail here. You know, he's a guy that has great flexibility. He's got good balance. He's explosive out of his stance. He demonstrates good hands and feet coordination. He's got quick feet. He played almost exclusively at right tackle for Mizzou over the last 3 seasons. He had 1 snap at left guard last season. The difference is his body of work last season. He took a tremendous step forward. He had a great season last year, and he looks great as a lead or pulling blocker. He's got that look. He's very athletic. He's extremely athletic. I think he ran a 4.91 at the combine. So when the combine took place and his pro day took place, coupled with what teams are seeing on tape for Membo, Coach, he is somebody that's just popping off the tape, and teams are salivating looking at him, almost considered putting him even above Will Campbell in this draft, but kind of dial it down a little bit. Campbell's a little more proven commodity, and it's based on his body of work at LSU. But Coach, Armand Membo is a very good player. Now, you don't win football games at the combine and during pro days, and I know you've said that many a time, but he's got the tape from last year. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy that consensus on Pro Football Focus was rated in the mid-60s until this year, where he popped into the 90s. So this is a Johnny-come-lately in many, many ways. And that's great for Armand Membo. I mean, he probably is the most athletic offensive tackle prospect in this draft. However, he does not have the body of work of positional versatility that some other guys that may have that are of similar prospect style as he does. And there is a little buyer beware. I mean, there's a lot of guys like Armand Membo that climb the ladder relatively fast and wind up thriving and being Pro Bowl level players in the NFL. And there's also many that get to that stage because they've climbed that ladder, and deservedly so, that don't quite make it for whatever reason. But Armand Membo is a tremendous athlete, and it's a very athletic game anymore. I mean, you don't just big and thick and tough doesn't get it done anymore alone. On the offensive line in the NFL, you have got to be able to move your feet and get and climb and pull and do all these kinds of things. And they want offensive tackles to be able to do that as well. Armand Membo has the ability to be a guard because he does pull so well and get out in front as a blocker so well. And all of those traits could translate and be really successful as a tackle as well. So 49ers get a real good athlete here. And they have got a great pedigree and history of cultivating offensive linemen too. So yeah, Coach Shanahan gets a real good player here. Something that's going to help that run game and that pass game.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to be healthy next year. They're going to be tough. People shouldn't sleep on the Niners. They're a talented team. Coach, you are the Dallas Cowboys. You're Jerry and Steven in the war room at Valley Ranch at the number 12 pick. Who are you taking?
Well, I think we probably took their pick with the last pick with the 49ers. I think that's the guy they probably would really have liked to have gone with Tyron Smith retiring and some of the other, now vacated spots on that offensive line. Cowboys have had a very, very good offensive line for a long time. It's what's always made them very competitive for the most part. However, there's another player that is a guy that kind of, similar to Will Johnson, has maybe dripped down the board a little bit, but there's a lot of value in this guy, and he was our number 1 wide receiver prospect because we featured Travis Hunter as a defensive back. But with the 12th pick, the Cowboys are going to select Teteroa McMillan, T-Mac, out of the University of Arizona. Big wide receiver. He's alignment versatile. He can produce from any of the wide receiver alignments. He's been a red zone machine in college. He moves very well. He's very tough to tackle. He's got top end ball skills and a big body. We're talking 6'4" plus. He's got the largest catch radius of anybody in this draft. And he is really going to accent a guy like a CD Lamb really well for the Cowboys and make their vertical pass game something a lot easier for Dak Prescott and what they want to do down in Dallas. So Dallas gets a big wide receiver with the 12th pick. Drew, your thoughts?
Yeah, I like, and we talked about this off the air before we recorded here, and I like the fact that not only is he a blue chip prospect, but he also doesn't have to be the guy there. They have Lamb, Prescott.
He can be wide receiver too.
Yeah, but there's plenty of footballs to go around. It's a passing league, like you said, and there's no question McMillan's going to have an opportunity. I mean, he's not going to see double coverage. He's going to have an opportunity to really excel in Dallas. This is the perfect fit for him. For his sake, I would hope he's there because that's a tailor-made spot for him in Dallas. So I really like that pick, Coach, for Dallas at number 12. On to number 13, the Miami Dolphins. So, this is a team that's they've been flirting. They made the playoffs a couple years ago. They flirted with it last year. They're a good team. They're a little inconsistent, but they've got a good offense. They've got an explosive offense at times, but they really got to shore up the defensive side of the football. They have a lot of options here at 13, but there's a guy that's been a top 5 at his position, and he's slowly been climbing up there to the point now where actually he's a defensive tackle who's actually been at times been considered at equal or maybe even above Mason Graham. And that is Walter Nolan, the defensive lineman out of Ole Miss, Mississippi. He's our number 2 defensive tackle on the board this year, Coach. And there's just a lot to like about Walter Nolan. He's alignment versatile. So whether you're a 3-4 front or a 4-3 front, he can play most of the positions there other than like a wide 9. But he can be a 0 technique over the center. He can be on the outside tackle as a 5 technique and anywhere in between. That's what makes him really special. And guess what? He's good at all of them. He's not just a jack of all trades and master of none. He's very good. He's a hot running competitive engager. He's relentless in his plan execution. He's one of those guys. The good ones say, this is what I'm going to do. You stop me versus now what's this lineman going to do? How do I counter? No, Walter Nolan's going to come forward and do what he needs to do. You got to stop him. He's extremely physical. He's a leverage warrior. He's got great quickness and explosive to get off. And he's really a highly disruptive defensive lineman, and he played in the tough SEC, Coach. Just a lot to like about Walter Nolan. Your thoughts?
Yeah, he's a disruptor, and he can disrupt moving up and down the defensive line. He can really be a real pain in the ass to a blocking scheme, and that's exactly what you really want is and first and foremost as a defensive lineman, not some guy that's flying upfield making all sorts of plays in the backfield. I mean, that's a style of defense that, I guess some people may like to feature, but, folks, if you're trying to learn this game, that's not really what a good defensive lineman does. They do the things that Mason Graham and Walter Nolan do. And Walter Nolan does these things very similar to a Mason Graham. And this is a great pick for Miami. They get a really good defensive football player that's going to mess things up in the run game. Especially, and be able to support and help free up pass rushes. So Walter Nolan going to Miami is a great pick.
Yeah, it just makes too much sense. And there's another one that's going to make a lot of sense here too, Coach. 14th pick belongs to the Indianapolis Colts. Who do you got him taking?
I got lucky, Drew. I mean, it seems like with this guy being an even pick and coming down to this spot on the board, being a need for this team, it just makes all the sense in the world. And there was a guy that wore number 44 at tight end out of a Big Ten school that played during their heyday by the name of Dallas Clark. Well, another number 44 out of a Big Ten school that plays tight end is going to the Indianapolis Colts because they're going to draft Tyler Warren out of Penn State. This is the best tight end in this draft, and it's not even close. I think he's better than Colston Loveland. Just in a few different areas. And he's dangerous, again, in all alignments. You don't just have to line him in line. He can get up and get into the slot. You can move him around H-back style. He can do all of these different things. He can get vertical down the field and make plays down the field a la the Sam Laportas and some of the better tight ends in this league. He's a guy that can really do things in the red zone. He's got really good hands. Is he a great blocker? Well, he's going to get to become at least a better blocker. And that is something that the Colts will work on. But he's a very dynamic and competitive guy, works really, really hard. And this is an excellent prospect for the Colts. And they kind of hit their home run. This is, as far as a positional player goes, at 14 to get the top tight end, they do real well here, Drew. What do you think?
Yeah, the Jaguars and the Colts in our mock hit home runs, and it was like, okay, as soon as I'm on the clock, I'm turning my ticket, and this is the other one. Tyler Warren's a very, very good football player, and I like the lineage between he and Clark. I didn't realize the similarities there, so that's fantastic. Other than position, of course, but yeah, Dallas Clark was awesome in Indy, and Tyler Warren I think will be too. He's going in a good situation there, and I think he's going to be successful. No question about it. At number 15, we have the Atlanta Falcons coach, and this is a team that's done a lot to address their offensive side of the football. They went out and got Drake. They drafted Drake London. They drafted Bijan Robinson. They drafted Michael Penix Jr. They even signed Kirk Cousins before that, and then they had drafted Desmond Ridder before that to try and address the quarterback situation. So they seem like they've got and then they got Kyle Pitts, who they drafted at tight end too. So they're pretty loaded in Atlanta. They need to look on the defensive side of the football for some help, and there is a lot of support there. And with the 15th pick overall, they're going to take Mike Green, the edge rusher out of Marshall. He's our number 5 edge rusher on our board, coach, and he's a very talented player. At the bottom line is Mike Green is elite. He's got elite twitch and he's a fluid mover. He's explosive off the ball, and when he gains ground, he's excellent at playing with elite arc and with responsible contain principles. So he doesn't get out of sorts, and he doesn't lose contain. He doesn't lose his gap if he's holding one, but he's also going to be able to make a good play, a strong play, and force the quarterback where he wants them to go. He's a violent and hard hand striker. He's got a wrestling background. He's a good block destructor. He's just an unwavering competitor. He's got a very planned pass rush repertoire as well. He's got a plan before the snap of what he's going to do. And he was an extremely impressive pass rusher at Marshall. Now, he didn't face elite competition at Marshall, so there's some question there. There were a few off-field concerns with Mike Green, but really not much has come to fruition there, coach. So that's why he makes sense here at 15 for the Falcons, because they need help there at edge. What do you think of Mike Green?
He can really bend and burn. I mean, this is your true edge rusher here. I mean, this is a guy that can do these kinds of things. Not the biggest guy, but a guy that can really bend and burn and get after the quarterback and develop into a top-end NFL edge. Really well, he plays right away. So, I mean, this is a smart football pick from that standpoint. Yeah, I mean, there were some things that happened with Mike Green that aren't are a little lowbrow and of concern. However, it does seem like those things have kind of been put into their place, because everything that's reported isn't always exactly what the reality is. And it looks like Mike Green might be in a little better shape with those things than we initially had thought. And this is a guy that, I know in earlier parts of the draft process, a lot of teams were kind of licking their chops at. But they get a guy that can really help rush the passer here. And yes, make Atlanta's defense better, because that's kind of where they're at right now.
Yeah, no doubt about that, coach. So they get help on the edge in Atlanta at 15. Now we go to pick 16. You're the Arizona Cardinals. Who do you got?
Well, we're going to have to take another Alabama Crimson Tide member off the board that we would really, really, really like a little further down the board. But the Cardinals are going to make their offensive line a little bit better. Kyler Murray is a really, really good quarterback. He is. Yes, he's tiny, and it does seem like his best days were at the very beginning. And I know there were some concerns there in the middle, but he's kind of survived those, and he really has chosen, proven to be a higher end quarterback in this league, and they need to protect him. They do a better job protecting him from the inside, because he is of diminutive size at 5'9", and they get the best, in my opinion, the best interior offensive lineman on the board. Tyler Booker is going to go to the Arizona Cardinals, so his color scheme's not going to change a whole lot, Drew. If he's got a lot of red and white in his repertoire of his clothing, he can keep it. He can play both guard positions, and he can actually put his hand on the football and play some center too. He's a really, really good coordinated puncher and pass blocks extremely well. He's got great frame and size, big, wide-bodied kid. And he really recognizes defensive schemes well. He's very well coached up. He's very strong and bullish on the run, and he's a very good pass anchor. He's going to cave things down and create alleys for Kyler Murray to do his thing. He finishes blocks. He's a play side guard, which means you could run at him all day long. Man, does the Cardinals get a good player with Tyler Booker. Would love to see him drop a little further down the board.
Yeah, and I believe it or not, I think he could be a target for a trade up from some organizations, possibly one here near Detroit with the Lions. But yeah, Tyler Booker, our number one guard. Yeah, a lot to like about him. He would fit in very well here. But yeah, it makes a lot of sense for Arizona to do that. And you're right. They got to protect Murray because of the way he scrambles. Although a lot of his scrambling is to try and make things happen in the pocket, outside the pocket with the passing game, which is good because he kind of would tuck and run a little bit more often early on, but he's become more of a guy who wants to try and pass first. So he's going to help out tremendously in Arizona without question. Now the number 17 pick, we go down to Ohio, Cincinnati Bengals with the 17th pick. And coach, this team's got a lot of talent on the offensive side of the football. They're led by Joe Burrow. They still got T. Higgins. They've got a solid line. They need to do some more on the defensive side of the football. And there's a very, very good defensive tackle that we are very familiar with, and that is Kenneth Grant, the defensive lineman out of the University of Michigan. He was our number 3 defensive tackle on the board. Many people feel the same way. He's somebody that not only will become possibly an instant starter, he's without question going to be heavy rotation. He can help out on special teams as well. He's a seasoned, well-coached product of that Michigan defense there. He knows how to win. He's a natural run anchor inside. That is his forte. He's gotten a lot of big reps against a lot of big-time offensive line prospects in big games at the University of Michigan. A lot of guys, not many guys can say that, but a lot of guys we've talked about can say that. Kenneth Grant's one of them. His athleticism in this class at defensive tackle is really unmatched. It's elite at his position. He's extremely active with his hands. He has great pass reaction. He's a technician of a block destructor and a rush planner. He's got a high football IQ, coach. Lot to like about Kenneth Grant. I know you like him a lot. Talk about him.
Yeah, just a great athlete as kind of, and he has some alignment versatility, but we're talking about a real good inside defensive lineman. We're talking about a 0-1, 2-eye type player here, and he's really going to be very disruptive for him and a great run anchor. Especially, but he can make plays in the backfield and do some different things, chases things down. He's got great athleticism. He's really good on a punt return scheme. He can really run around and do some of those things, which is an art that's important that a lot of people don't pay attention to or know much about. Is a guy that's able to do that at his size. He can be out there and stay out there. So, Kenneth Grant's going to really add an element to the Bengals. Great pick. The 3rd Wolverine off the board. Already in this draft. So, great pick by the Bengals.
And to couple that, it makes sense because Trey Hendrickson is very much still on the, at least being mentioned out there as possible trade candidate because he's a pending free agent after the season. So it makes even more sense in that regard. So we will see what happens with Hendrickson too. You're at number 18, coach, with the Seattle Seahawks, and it's a little different ball club now. Like you said, Geno Smith has moved on to the Raiders. Now Pete Carroll's his coach there, ironically. So it's kind of like Seattle East now. What do you see the Seahawks doing here at 18?
Well, the Seahawks, are a defensive-minded organization. They have a defensive-minded head coach in McDonald. And they themselves are also, kind of indoctrinating a new era in regards to the quarterback position. And really, if you look at, what Pete Carroll had built with Seattle when he was there, was a team that was, very defensive heavy, and they could pound you. And they had a really good offensive line and do things that way. And I think that's where they're going to go. They're going to go with a guy that can play two different positions clearly on the offensive line, and however is interested in playing center as well. And they're going to go with offensive tackle, offensive guard prospect out of North Dakota State University, Gray Zabel. This is another guy that I know is very high on the Lions board. However, he's not going to quite get to them unless they're going to want to trade up. He's a great down blocker, which really speaks to his ability to play offensive tackle. He likes to, he's thrived on the strong side. I'll be that at the FCS level, where they ran at him quite a bit, but he can also be a great backside blocker too, which possesses both abilities. So, he really is a well-rounded offensive lineman. Got big, heavy-handed guy. He's very flexible and fluid as a mover. So that really speaks well to his ability to become a guard and a movable piece at guard. Also wants to play center. He's really interested in it and is going to learn how to do that. So you're getting a great utility offensive lineman that's really as a starter, but you can move him in and around the offensive line. When guys get banged up, you can move Gray Zabel around. Seahawks get a really, really versatile and valuable offensive lineman in Gray Zabel. Drew, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I really like him a lot. Obviously on tape he looks really good, but on against lesser competition. But he also Senior Bowl week he wowed everyone, and that was the thing. And showing that versatility, he's the only knock I've heard on him is his length a little bit. So that's what's going to move him inside. But I saw many a mock draft where the Lions would be getting him at 28. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense that Seattle takes him here at 18. Got to improve. Got to be good in the trenches. And Gray Zabel is a very good one. Number 19 now, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now this is a team. They've been a pain in the ass too, right? I mean they gave Detroit hell 2 years ago in the playoffs. I mean, they were good last year. They've got Baker Mayfield. They've got a good receiving core. Is Chris Godwin going to be back 100%? I haven't heard anything to the contrary per se. But you still got Mike Evans there. You've got a solid running game, and they've taken steps to address their O-line. So now they got to look to the defensive side of the football. And bottom line is, they could use some help everywhere a little bit, but when you have an edge rusher on the board that you really like and you want to get at the quarterback, I think that's the direction they're going to go. So with the 19th pick, got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going to Donovan Ezeraku, the edge rusher from Boston College, BC. He's our number 8 edge on the board, coach, and a lot of that was because of his size. But if you look at his skill set, lots to like here. He's a producer in defending the run, which is very important. He's not just strictly a pass rusher. He's got great get off on the ball, and he's a technician on the line. He maintains a tight arc and path and pass rush. He's really a master technician in terms of his technical pass rush skills. He's a high caliber functional athlete. It's NFL ready. He's a phenomenal effort and energy player. He plays from the snap to the whistle. He's intuitive and reactive, and he's a very productive defender. So much to like about Ezeraku, coach. What do you like about him?
Well, they've got a Vita Vea type guy in the inside that's an absolute run anchor and mean and tough, and Levante David and all these great defensive players they've had there for a long period of time. And that really speaks to who the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are. I mean, they won the Super Bowl most recently with Tom Brady. And, we look at Baker Mayfield and, as a really, really good quarterback for them. And it has them consistently in playoff contention. Defense is really the name of the game for the Bucs. That's really, they're a very good defensive team. And Donovan Ezeraku makes them a lot better that way. Because, even at his size, you can see, he's just like a green, type, just almost a designated pass rusher type. Not the case. Quite the contrary. He can play the run real well too. Very competitive player, and someone that's going to really add juice to their defensive rotations. This is a wise pick by the Bucs if they were able to go here. And Donovan Ezeraku goes to a great organization that's playoff caliber team and franchise in a great part of the country too, because that's a wonderful area. Tampa Bay, Florida is a real nice place.
Absolutely. Pick number 20, the Denver Broncos, coach. You are in the war room. Who are you taking?
For Sean Payton and company, I think this makes all the sense in the world as to add a weapon for Bo Nix and company, and a guy that can do a lot of different things a lot of different ways. And they are going to draft wide receiver out of the University of Missouri, our second Missouri Tiger to be drafted in the first round. Don't see that an awful lot. But the Broncos are going to go with Luther Burden III. He's kind of a versatile offensive weapon in the vein of a Deebo Samuel. Can do a lot of those same things. An absolute menace with the football on his hands. He's got a fairly low drop rate, so he completes, or passes are completed to him in high frequency. He wins at the line of scrimmage and press. He can get off the press block or the press cover or the press jam. I'm not the press block, the press jam. And for a guy that's sub 6 foot, that's impressive. He's a real good physical blocker too, and that's something that Sean Payton demands of his guys. He's a great punt returner. This is a high value football player that can do a lot of different things, Drew, for an offense and on special teams. And to be acquiring him at pick 20, the Broncos get a real good one. They lost Jerry Jeudy to a trade to the Cleveland Browns last year, and they effectively replace him with a real good player in Luther Burden III.
Yeah, a lot of mocks I'm seeing have T-Mac going even higher than we have him going, and then a Luther Burden III going even higher because of that. In our scenario, not the case. Denver very fortunate to have Luther Burden III here, and absolutely they will snatch him up. And if it wouldn't be him, I think it would be another wide receiver. I think there's a couple others
or somebody like that. Yeah,
exactly. So it makes a lot of sense. But Burden III is definitely the guy to pick here. That's a great pick. Now at the 21st pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Coach, I labored over this one big time because we don't know what they're doing at quarterback yet. All signs seem to point to Aaron Rodgers until his Pat McAfee appearance a couple of days ago, and all of a sudden, all bets are off. Who knows? Everyone knows everyone he's talked to knows his intentions, that he's not sure yet. And you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, I need a quarterback. But is there a quarterback at 21 you really want to take and kind of hang your hat on? Maybe there is, maybe not. Now, you need help in the running game. Maybe there's somebody there that can help you. I think there is. But those picks can be a little more hit and miss. High risk, high reward. I think the Steelers have always been consistent. They've always been consistent in the trenches. At the very least, they're always going to be able to play the run and rush the passer, and they're going to be able to run the football effectively. And really, I think that's the direction the Steelers will go in and probably need to go in if there's not an answer at quarterback from an Aaron Rodgers per se, or if they really don't think enough of a quarterback to take here. So I've got him taking Calvin Banks Jr., the offensive tackle out of Texas. And Coach, this is our number one tackle on the board, and for good reason. Calvin Banks Jr., he's an excellent hand fighter. He's got good size. He's very aware of stunts and blitz schemes. He's got a high football IQ. He's a great combo partner in blocking. He recognizes where he can help out and support. He's great on the second level, so he's mobile. He's a very good blocker in space. He's got elite quickness for the offensive line. He's a fluid puller in the screen game, and he's really a leverage tactician. Calvin Banks is a very athletic offensive lineman, Coach, and I think he will be very successful in Pittsburgh. It's not a sexy skill position pick, but it's a player that probably is going to play there 10 plus years, all things being equal.
With the format that we're using, absolutely. Absolutely. They weren't in draft position to be able to get one of those top two guys. Now they may work to do that and move up to be able to do that. And there are a couple of quarterbacks still remaining on our board that could clearly go here. And, in their division, the team that's been the most consistent at the top of their division has been the Baltimore Ravens. And they have a quarterback that they selected in the 20s that even at that point in time, there was like, well, are they going to use him at quarterback? Well, they did. And he's just become a perennial NFL MVP candidate year in, year out. And that's Lamar Jackson. So is there one out there like that? There is, and that is Jalen Milroe. And that is one of the guys that I know you labored over and possibly going here. There's Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss as well. But what you get in Calvin Banks Jr. is exactly what you said, Drew. This is a position versatile guy. He could become a guard. He moves extremely well. This is a linchpin, top dog offensive lineman for many, many years to come. Like you said, for a decade. And that is going to make the Steelers remain that Steelers organization that always seems to be flirting with a playoff spot and or even contending to work towards a Super Bowl. So this is a great pick. Them getting an offensive lineman, the Calvin Banks Jr.'s caliber at pick 21 is pretty impressive. Do I think they could go quarterback still? I think they could. But I think for all intents and purposes, this is a phenomenal pick. This is another one I would love to see slide about 7 more picks from here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's a safe pick. He's the safe pick here, in my view, and I think that's really why I pulled the trigger on this one. So, yeah, I think he's going to be real successful there in Pittsburgh if this shakes out. Now we go to the West Coast. Coach Harbaugh,
Coach Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers. Well, you know, movies are made in Hollywood, and this is kind of a Hollywood script here in regards to the Sports Peninsula Podcast 2025 mock draft at the 22nd pick, because he's going to get a player that he's very, very familiar with in a position of need, and a really good player for that position. And I think the Chargers are going to go back to the University of Michigan, and they're going to draft tight end Colston Loveland. Colston Loveland's a big, tall, long, rangy athlete, great natural athlete, and he's a very good route runner. As good of a route runner as Tyler Warren in many, many ways. He's also alignment versatile. You can move him around, motion him around. You can widen him. He was a really good high school basketball player, and he wins the 50-50 balls. I mean, balls that are and Herbert's been known to do that, to throw balls in the windows, and for sometimes for better and sometimes for worse. Well, Colston Loveland oftentimes is going to make that for better. He's got great hands. He's got a big, wide catching radius. He's a tough tackle after the catch. Going to have to develop as a blocker, but that was something that Coach Harbaugh was doing with him anyway, and that will continue to develop. He's going to a program that he's already really played before, Drew. He's going basically to the University of Michigan West Coast in the form of the Los Angeles Chargers in regards to the coaching style and coaching, kind of mantra that goes on there. Coach Harbaugh gets his guy literally with Colston Loveland. Drew, what do you think?
Yeah, it makes too much sense not to do it, right? There's receiver options here, and they could go that way, but Colston Loveland checks both boxes. He's going to catch the football too, and oh, by the way, he's going to help support the running game, which, to your point, that's where it's at in with the Chargers. That's Coach Harbaugh's game. They're going to run the football first, and they have a great quarterback like Herbert there. I see Colston Loveland being extremely successul with the Chargers organization because he really fits in with what they're doing, like you said, and it just makes a lot of sense. So yeah, it would be a Hollywood script. He'll be there, I think. And I would be surprised if they didn't go this direction, quite honestly. So yeah, I like that pick a lot, Coach. Now the 23 pick, I get our second favorite team, the Green Bay Packers, and they're hosting the draft this year. Detroit hosted last year. Green Bay gets it this year, and I'm sure they'll do a fine job with it. It's going to be at Lambeau Field. And the Packers certainly could use some help at the receiver position. They have players there, but nobody's really kind of emerged as the true number one per se. And it just makes sense to, if you don't have that, let's get a lot of number twos on that team and be dangerous with Jordan Love. And it makes sense that they go with wide receiver Emeka Egbuka out of the Ohio State University, our number 4 receiver on the board, Coach, and lots to like about him. We certainly saw a lot of him up here in a Big Ten country with Michigan and Michigan State. Lots to like here. 5.5% drop rate on 205 receptions. That's damn good. That's some sure-handedness by Egbuka at wide receiver. He's got tremendous speed. He's a nuanced route runner. He's got his route forms are just a lethal blend with his speed and his forms. He's outstanding. He's a big-time special teams player, and he's experienced in all facets. He's a hard and physical player. He plays at a very fast speed. He's got long speed. He can get over the top, and he's a zone killer. He knows how to find the bubble in the zone. He hits another gear after the catch, which makes him just a yak monster. Coach, a lot to like about Egbuka. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this is This is a tough one for a Lions fan because Jordan Love needs more targets downfield. That's something that, it seems like they stall out at times in the big games. And not all. I mean, like that Dallas game a couple of years ago in the playoffs, they were just hell on wheels and they were connecting on everything. But Emeka Egbuka would really add an element to the Green Bay Packers that they need. And that's a steady force at wide receiver. And, he's a very, very good. He's a plus athlete. Is there more athletic wide receivers than he? Yeah, there's faster that we haven't even talked about yet. But he's very precise and gets to where he needs to be. And that's the kind of Jordan Love is very precise and gets the ball oftentimes where it needs to be. So this should be a really good match for him. He should be thrilled with this selection. And he's going to get a major ovation there in Door County, Wisconsin, when he is selected by the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, no question about that. Yeah, it's another key point. Yeah, he's gonna be the guy on that day, no question. You are the Minnesota Vikings coach now at 24, another our third most hated team.
Yeah, going to Skol this time. We touching all bases, but you know what? We haven't talked about the best team in the NFC North yet, so that's a good thing. But we're coming on that very, very soon. Vikings, they've had Hunter Smith for well over a decade now. And he has been a great steadying force for that secondary. Paul Krause, the all-time leader in interceptions in NFL history, phenomenal safety during the heyday of the 60s and 70s Vikings when they were a Super Bowl contender year in and year out. And I think, just like the Bears, where they've historically had a great stud in the middle of their defense when they were their most competitive, the Vikings have had a great safety in the middle of their secondary this whole time, too. And they are going to get one. They're going to get our number one safety on the board with Malachi Starks out of Georgia. Long, athletic guy. He reads and communicates real well. He'll have everybody in the coverage in the coverage shell locked into where they're needing to be. He can really hammer down and play on the run. He does not miss a ton of tackles, well less than 10%. He's got great burst. He can come up and get in the run game like nobody's better business. He moves very fluidly. He's a big time ball contester, which is going to be very important for him in the 50-50 ball phases. Fast, physical, destroys blocks well. He's your Kirby Smart defensive football player, Drew. And those guys have translated very, very well in the NFL. Will continue to do so for a long time. And Hunter Smith's back. He's back this year for the Vikes. But the future is going to be Malachi Starks.
Yeah, they need the heir apparent because Smith's not long for the league. He's been in the league
this year. Yeah,
so at the end of the day, you got to pass the baton, and what a guy to pass it to. Stark's an outstanding player. That's the rich get richer, right? I mean, all of the Lions' defensive or divisional foes are really landing some really good players here in round one. No surprise, but yeah, Starks is a really good player, and he's going to make the Vikings better, no question. It's a good pick, Coach. Now at 25, the Houston Texans. So this is a team that's done a phenomenal job. They either ignored the nonsense that was out there about C.J. Stroud a couple years ago and took him. Maybe they're the ones that put it out there so no one else would. I don't know. But they've got a hell of a quarterback there, and they've got a good offense. But they did trade Laramie Tunsil this year, which raised some eyebrows. So it just really makes sense that they're going to try and look to shore up that offensive line. And at the same time, there's a lot of talent to choose from. So I've got the Texans at 25 going with Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle out of The Ohio State University. Again, we had more top 8 / dark horse candidates from Ohio State than any school this year. And it's showing now. When we talk about Josh Simmons, just a fantastic offensive lineman. He's got an NFL frame. He's long, wide, and rangy. He's an outstanding climber. He's got long levers and edge rushers, so he's able to contain them. He's a very competitive football player. He can play left or right tackle, and he's a strong, powerful downfield down blocker, and he's really got a great first step, whether it's in run or pass blocking, which speaks to his IQ and his athletic ability. Now Now he's coming off of an injury, coach, but it sounds like all things being equal, he's good. He's going to be good to go for camp. So that's encouraging. Your thoughts on Josh Simmons?
Yeah, and that's probably why we're talking about him at 25. Is still that knee. We factored that in. But it's time for him to come off the board. This guy is way too good to keep rolling down that board. And he is progressing well with his injury recovery, and that's great to hear. His versatility. This is a tackle. This is a tackle, but he can go, kind of like a guy that we have over here. He can play both sides. I'm not calling him Penny Sewell. He's not. I don't think he is that good, but I think he is very, very good. And like you said, Laramie Tunsil's no longer a member of the Houston Texans organization. They have a clear void. He was a big player for them. And, they need that backside pressure guy to take care of those things, or the front side to help with the run game and take care of things there too. And, he just so happens to be a former teammate of C.J. Stroud's. He's going to be blocking for him again. And this is a great pick for Houston. They get a very, very good player here, pretty deep in the draft, first round at least.
Yeah, I'll have that help that run game with Joe Mixon too. So no question, like Josh Simmons. You are the Los Angeles Rams at 26, coach. Who do you like?
Well, again, just like we've seen it a couple of times, I think the Houston Texans took the player they wanted, and that's but that's okay because there's more to be had. And we're talking about another guy that I'd love to see a couple picks down the road. I really would. This is another player that has position versatility. He's physical. He's tough. He's kind of a lunch pail guy with some high-level athleticism. And the Rams are going to get a guy that's not going to have to do much of a time adjustment because he's also a Pacific time guy from the West Coast. And they're going to get offensive tackle prospect out of the University of Oregon, Josh Connerly Jr. He is probably a tackle, but this is a guy that could be moved into guard relatively easily. He's got great feet, Drew. He can pull, he can pass block, he can do a lot of things. He's very quick and agile. He's got a great mind for the game. He understands offensive line play and blocking schemes. He's a great combo partner, which means he works well with a guard. That's what really he's done most of the time because he's been a tackle. He could also be a great combo partner as a guard for a tackle or a center too. So this is just a high caliber offensive line prospect later in the first round. He's a tough, hot running motor. This is a guy that, is going to be real to help protect Matt Stafford. And, Sean McVay is getting a real nice piece to his offensive line here. And they can really sustain that offensive juggernaut that he has built with the Los Angeles Rams. Josh Connerly is going to be a nice player for the Rams.
Yeah. And this is about right. This is where we've seen him pretty consistently, whether we've seen other people's mocks or even our own mock models. Connerly's right in this, 25 to 32 range all the time. And what value? I mean, that's great value there. And I agree with you. If he was down a couple more spots, yeah, he would be in the conversation without question. So Connerly's a nice player out of Oregon. Great pick for the Rams. Number 27, the Baltimore Ravens. Now we got John Harbaugh, and he's been around there for a long time. And the Ravens, they've got a great quarterback in Lamar Jackson. They've got a great offense with Derrick Henry. They've got receivers. They've got an O-line. What would they do next? Well, at the end of the day, their Super Bowl teams and Super Bowl championship teams have been won on defense. Their defense has always been elite when they've been really successful. It is very good still. They need to make it better. And it never hurts to add another pass rusher. The edge rusher on the board here is out of the University of Tennessee, James Pierce Jr., our number 2 edge rusher on our board, coach. James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee going to the Baltimore Ravens at 27. Now, a bit of an enigma in terms of where he's going in the draft. We're seeing him go higher than this. We're even seeing him going on day 2 in some models. So James Pierce is being viewed very differently by a lot of scouts and a lot of prognosticators. And I think the question is he going to be able to play every down and be effective as a 3-down rusher? We think he will be. He's an excellent edge responder versus the run. So he's a good hand striker. He's got good blocking engagement. He's a very smart player. He's got a good high football IQ. He's explosive. He's got get off. I mean, he's like a rocket off the line. I mean, he really is. He's got excellent responsibility as a point defender. He's really well balanced and he's got a good pass rush repertoire, and he maintains a tight arc and pass rush. So there's so much to like here, Coach. I was curious your thoughts is why you think Pierce is so up and down on boards.
His size, his frame is really lean. It's really long and lean. I mean, you see him out there, and you're not sure if you're unfamiliar with James Pierce Jr. And you see he wears number 27. It's where he wore at Tennessee. So okay, is he running downfield? Is he a receiver? Is he a linebacker? Is he a defensive back? No, he's an edge. And I think the plus side here is he does defend the run really well, Drew. That was at the SEC level too. I mean, we're talking about, one of the top 2 football conferences in all of college football. And historically, at least the last 20 years, you could probably still keep them in the lead for that. That all being said, it's a step up in the NFL, and he's going to have some guys coming at him with ferocity. I mean, he's going to have to be able to take on the kickouts of guys like Penei Sewell, and be able to handle himself in that general phase of things. If he slides, if his name is there one pick later, I might be talking about him in a little bit more of a feature as well. And I think he is somebody who would be heavily on the Lions' radar. However, the Ravens are built on defense. That is, regardless through the years of great Ravens teams, they've always been so good on defense. And James Pierce it's once again, the rich get richer with the 27th pick in the draft. And you know what, Drew? Number 27 goes to the 27th pick. Isn't that kind of crazy? I don't think he's going to wear 27 for the Ravens. I mean, he may, who knows? But that's something that's kind of an intriguing thing. This is a great pass rusher that can defend the run. He's an elite athlete, and somebody that's going to make the Ravens stay good for a lot longer time. Yeah. Coach Harbaugh's going to be there longer now, Drew.
Yeah, I think so. Well, good for him. Yeah, Pierce is a nice one. I like that pick a lot. Here we go. You are Brad Holmes, Coach. You are in Allen Park with Dan Campbell, Chris Spielman, Rod Wood, Sheila Ford Hemp. Who are you taking here?
Well, I may or may not have had OCD going into this pick, but certainly after the scrutiny that I for whatever reason I did that for, because we have such passion for this. I certainly have it now because I almost couldn't make this decision. It was too difficult. And, we're going to see a guy, this name has popped up before in some mock drafts a while back. This is a guy that on a lot of current mock drafts that you see here is not on the day one radar. There are some players in some positions that it was really hard to let go of and not pick because I could really, really see them. One of which we're going to still talk about here in a couple of picks that you're going to get an opportunity to highlight. But the Lions, we've invested a lot on our offense. We've cultivated this offense. The offense has lost its play caller, but we bring back a guy in Johnny Morton that's very, very familiar. And I don't see what a lot of the prognosticators have. I think the Lions offense is going to be in really, really good shape. Now, do we have some interior offensive line concerns long-term? And do we need to think about replacing Taylor Decker ultimately? We do. However, that does not necessarily need to happen in 2025. We need to have this defense get better. We lost our defensive coordinator too. And that's going to be a guy that's coordinating a defense for the first time as well. And I think we need to give him the best piece we possibly can. We've seen a lot of edge rushers, ones of which we've been very, very connected to, come off the board. And there's still a couple that are there as well. There's some defensive linemen, and we need to look at that position too. Some very, very good interior defensive linemen that have come off the board. I think the muse that we really would love to have had in Jihad Campbell is going to go to an in-division foe. And we need to think in that same kind of vein. We need to find a guy that's a catalyst for this defense and somebody that could be somewhat of a muse that we could do all sorts of different things to. We saw the Baltimore Ravens draft this type of player on the back end of their secondary. And he really has helped evolve that defense once again. And I think that's the direction the Detroit Lions may very well be going with. And with the 28th selection in the 2025 draft, the Detroit Lions are going to draft safety prospect Nick Emenwari out of the University of South Carolina. This, folks, is a physical freak. He is a huge safety, 6'4", 225-pound guy that runs sub 4.3. He can run like nobody's better business. He secures tackles. He's a huge hitter. He's phenomenal in special teams. He is an absolute menace and a destroyer in the 50-50 ball areas. He's got probably the best tackling radius in this draft, better than a Campbell and better some other guys too. He has got tremendous tackling radius. Big, physical, gritty player. There's that word that we've come to know as synonymous with Detroit Lions football. Big, physical run stopper. He's a good football detective and play reader. He's comfortable in man coverage, which is going to bode well for Coach Shepard's defense. Dave, I am all about the Lions getting this guy here, and I'm standing by this pick. Yeah, there's a bunch of guys that we could be going with, but this is the one I want to see wearing Honolulu blue and silver and running out of that Tomlin Ford Field for the Detroit Lions next year.
Yeah, there's very good linemen left. There's some very good edge rushers left. There's some good guards left as well. But this Emenwari possesses skills that kind of pop off the page, and they pop off the tape too. Those are all very good football players. So is he. But here's the thing. To compensate for when they were healthy at the beginning of the year, with Hutchinson being really the only true pass rush specialist on that line, not that other guys couldn't get it there, but Hutchinson's the guy, let's face it. They're still looking for other help. But Ife Melifonwu on zone blitzes with or blitz packages that's from safety, who was not quite as big as Emenwari, but pretty big, about 6'3", 210 himself, and he was getting to the quarterback. I see him filling that role as well. Now, people are going to say, well, why are you doing that? You guys don't know what the hell you're talking about, because we got Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. Yeah, this year. What about next year? Well, we'll be signed Kirby Joseph. Oh, you are? Huh. He's going to get close to a max contract as safety if he has another season like he did in 2024.
And
no, you're not.
Goodbye to our most versatile defensive back in Brian Branch.
Yeah, exactly. And now you've got a Swiss Army knife in Branch who can play the slot at corner. He can play safety. He can blitz. You got another guy like that right here. Oh, my goodness. You get a safety combination of Branch and Emenwari down the road, and then you've got Arnold and Rakestraw and Robertson and Reed at corner. Goodness. Now, well, you didn't address the pass rush. Guess what? I just bought you. You bought them 2 seconds of extra time every snap potentially. And oh, by the way, this guy can bring it too, and he can hit. So I like the pick when you made it. I'm loving it more and more the more I think about it. I think it's a tremendous pick, and I think it's very, very likely that he will be there for that decision to possibly be made by Brad Holmes. So really curious to see what happens. I love the pick, Coach. It's a great pick. Number 29, the Washington Commanders, a team that vanquished our Lions. And let's face it, that's a damn good football team. And Jaden Daniels is an outstanding quarterback. He's got some weapons at receiver. He's got Terry McLaurin. They'd like and De'Ami Brown. They'd like to add another one potentially. They've got running backs there. Brian Robinson and a few others. But at the end of the day, and they got a good line. But at the end of the day, you want to be able to give. If you can't give Daniels another elite target at receiver, let's get him an elite runner. And there's one guy in this draft other than Ashton Genty that qualifies as such, and that is Omarion Hampton, the running back out of North Carolina. He was our number 2, and I think everyone's number 2 back on their board. There's Genty, then there's Hampton, and then there's the rest of the pack. And lots to like about Hampton, Coach. He's a little bit bigger than Genty, so he's tremendous. He's got tremendous contact balance. You watch his tape. He's like a pinball out there. Reminds me of Jahmyr Gibbs in that regard a little bit, where he's able to take contact and spin off of it and roll off of it. not so much absorb it and just pound through, but he can spin off it and roll off it. So that's important. He's got excellent burst and acceleration. He's got has a real feel for positive yardage. He's got a nose for the football. He's an excellent pass protector and a physical blocker. Very important. He's a finisher as a runner. He wants that rock. He's not afraid of the moment. He wants it. He's the guy. He's a good pass catcher out of the backfield, hence my comparisons in terms of skill set to Gibbs. Gibbs is quicker, but Hampton's definitely got that same type of skill set. And he's got the ability to be a feature back. And, you know, what's nice for Washington, it's not nice for the other NFC teams, but Coach, he doesn't have to be the lead guy this year, but he will end up being the lead guy if Washington goes this direction. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the rich get richer in regards to, you know, offensive weapons, and you get a real fluid moving running back to go with a real fluid moving quarterback. Look out. I mean, they got Brian Robinson, who's kind of the pound the rock type guy. I mean, he's a guy that is kind of a north-south runner. And Omarion Hampton can be that way, but he also can kind of add that, you know, that kind of, sweet, salt and sugar type, ability there. So, I mean, to give a guy that can catch the football out of the backfield like Omarion Hampton to a team that has all the weapons that they have, like Scary Terry McLaurin and as the aforementioned Brian Robinson and some other players too, that's giving this Commanders team even more weapons to keep chasing that Lombardi Trophy, because they're going to be doing that for quite a while, I think.
Yeah,
they may wind up being the new sheriff of the NFC East before long.
Yeah, they are a really good young up and coming team. We saw it last year, certainly firsthand. So, yep, camped into the Commanders at 29. Coach, you are the Buffalo Bills at pick 30.
Well, we're talking about another one of these teams that has kind of been at the bottom of the first round for quite some time. They've been at the top of the league now for at least really 5, 6, 7 years. Their run has been very, very strong. And they've done this before and not won the Lombardi too. So the Bills are not unfamiliar with this territory. And, the pick that we're about ready to make may not be the quote-unquote sexiest pick, but, it's hard to do at pick 30 anyway. But I really evaluated this in depth here, and I really think highly of this player. I think this is definitely a first-round talent. And I think he's a little bit higher, in my opinion, than another player from this school that we are not going to mention in the first round that has been prominently mentioned in the first round. So with that being said, with the 30th pick, the Buffalo Bills are going to take Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M University via Purdue University. He's a relentless energy and effort player. And I've spent a little bit of time in and around that organization from a standpoint with my next gen stat stuff. And I can just kind of see their construct of the type of player. That's the type of player they want there. That's the type of player they want in Buffalo. He's got a big frame. This is the guy that led the Big Ten in sacks for Purdue. Now those numbers dipped. At Texas A&M. And you know what? Shamar Stewart is another guy that, we're not going to wind up talking about here as a SPP first rounder. He would have come off the board relatively quickly had we gone into the second round. But, a lot of their guys don't have a lot of juicy numbers off of the edge, Drew. Just the style of their defense. But he has proven he can really get to that quarterback. He is he's a big speed to power guy, heavy duty bull rusher. Excuse me. He's contributed on special teams, both at Purdue and Texas A&M. And that's going to be very important for him because he's going to need to be able to play those phases in the NFL as well. He's got a great pass rush plan. He really does. He sets an excellent edge on the run. This is a very responsible player. This is a real energetic, high motor player, and a guy that can make plays too. I think Nick Scorton is a fit personally for the Buffalo Bills. Drew, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys, like you said, you labored over at 28 because he's been in the mix for almost 2 months now, being prominently mentioned there. But yeah, Buffalo definitely benefits here. He's our number 6 edge rusher, but the edge rush class is pretty deep this year. This draft's deep in the trenches, so they're getting high value there at number 30. I like the pick a lot, Coach. That's a good pick. Number 31, the Kansas City Chiefs. They were 3 years in a row being in the Super Bowl, won it 2 years in a row, lost last year to Philadelphia. So they're back at 31. Another team, to your point, coach, picking late in the draft every year. So how do they improve? Well, they've tried to address their receiving position, and getting Xavier Worthy last year certainly helped. They could probably upgrade there. They have a good solid running game, but they've also got one of the best pass catching tight ends in the history of the NFL, and Travis Kelce. So maybe start to address the trenches, because that's kind of been a bit of a revolving door with injuries and free agency and things like that. So I think that's where the Chiefs really need to look. And oh my goodness, they get a guy with a lot of upside here from The Ohio State University. And it's Donovan Jackson, the guard from The Ohio State University. He was our number 6 guard on the board, coach, but he certainly has versatility. He's got a great anchor in base. He's a tight hand thrower, so he doesn't get too many flags getting caught holding outside of the pads. He's got an NFL-ready body. He's a big physical movement generator. He's got great movement. He's great at recognizing defenses. He's got great get-off. He's an elite athlete at the guard position, but he can play tackle as well. And, Coach, we saw that last year a little bit. Talk about that.
This is a guy that I had a hard time not selecting at pick 28, because this is a guy I'd love to see at that spot, potentially. He made his name for himself as a guard, but really elevated his stock, I think, from being a day 2 pick to a day 1 pick, caliber player, taking Josh Simmons' spot when he tore his ACL and moved out to left tackle. Yeah. And he was the highest grade. He had a perfect grade at left tackle after Simmons got hurt. That shows the kind of versatility that Donovan Jackson has. He is without a doubt going to make that Kansas City Chief offensive line better. And if you're a Chiefs fan, you should be thrilled with a pick like this, because again, it's hard to get real rich at the end of the first round on a yearly basis. It's hard. You did last year with Xavier Worthy. You got this burner receiver that really shows he can top the defenses out there and be that deep ball threat that Mahomes and company really is going to like. This is a guy that's going to help keep Pat Mahomes from running around like he's crazy and always running, throwing on the run. He's going to help secure that. He's going to help keep that running game strong in Kansas City. Donovan Jackson is a home run for the Chiefs here, in my opinion.
It wouldn't surprise me if he went higher even.
For sure.
To be honest with you, but yeah, if he's there for the Chiefs, it'd be falling in their lap basically. Now on to pick 32, Coach, the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. They lost some by a free agency. So where do you see them going?
Well, they lost a lot of defensive players, and that is certainly a place where they could go. And in fact, they very well could be going, because there's some really, really good defensive players still on this board. Some great defensive linemen, although they're pretty rich in that spot still. It's more off the edge and in the defensive backfield where they've taken their biggest dings. That's not where I see them going, though. I think I see them making that offense even more potent and doing some things. They're going to kind of go and take a page out of the script, out of the team that they defeated in the Super Bowl this past year, and take a burner wide receiver. And that is going to be Matthew Golden out of the University of Texas. He is going to be the last pick in the first round. He's a big-time kick returner. So that is somebody that they could get in that phase too here in Philly, and really, really like things. He can just burn the absolute turf out of that field over there, and just in top defenses like nobody's better business. And what I mean by that is getting over the top of everybody and getting open way downfield. He can run all day long in their pass concepts, and get thrown to underneath. He's just, again, blazing speed. He can change his pace and does all those kind of nuanced movements and fluid movements. He's really crafty route runner that way. He's a successful fighter for 50-50 balls. But honestly, with the other receivers that they have over there, Big AJ and with Devontae Smith, he's going to add yet another element to them that is going to make them even more potent. And I think Philly is in really, really good shape with this pick.
Yeah, I agree. Because like you said, they could go defensive side of the ball here. But, man, you add Matthew Golden to that receiving core, along with having Barkley in the backfield and Hurts at quarterback with a solid line. Pick your poison. Oh, you want to stop the pass? No problem. We're going to run it down your throat. You want to put 7, 8 in the box? Okay. Try single coverage on all 3 of those guys. Let's see where that gets you.
Right.
That's a scary offense if they add Matthew Golden to it. Boy. As a NFC Detroit Lions fan, I would rather not see that. But, yeah, it could very well happen here. Coach, that's a wrap. I love the mock. Of course, a lot can change. Like we said, we've had it many times where we've had the player like slotted, say at pick 12, and there's a trade. The player's picked, but by a different team. And we see that a lot. And you'll see players go up and down the board. But it's an inexact science. But I think you've spent a tremendous amount of time researching and watching film. I know I spent a lot of time tracking ratings and kind of getting a feel for where these guys are falling on the board. And it works well. But thank you. Excellent work. And look forward to next year's mock draft for our 9th season. So thank you again, Coach. Awesome work.
Well, Drew, thank you, man. You took the lead with the ratings, and that's really the foundation of how we try to get accurate with these things. And you took the lead there and did a great job with that. And with all these things, a lot of the technical aspects. And, you made this sprucey. When we first started this thing, it was pretty basic in regards to its look and that kind of thing. And you spent so much time on that kind of detail and really the nuts and bolts of it. And folks, we're a couple of buddies that go back a long way, but that's kind of how we started doing things. We're not big household names on YouTube or anything like that. We're not getting big glass mementos sent to us from YouTube or anything quite yet. But, we have a lot of fun with this, and we like to take some pride in the accuracy in which we bring it because we're pretty close a lot of times, at least, in the ballpark. We don't always swing for the fences and try to make the big hot take picks and do those kinds of things. We really try to make it a research-based type thing. And that we do with our more localized coverage, too, with like the Lions and I know in the combat sports, you guys do that as well, too, with Big Chops and those guys who do phenomenal stuff with you in that phase of the podcast. But it's always so much fun. And, we had it here last year. My son and I spent day 2 and day 3 at the draft in Detroit. It's probably the coolest thing I've ever experienced in the city of Detroit. It was such a huge event. To call it huge, I can't even put it into words, just how big of an event it is. And I hope the folks in Green Bay soak it up. I know they will. They love their football in the state of Wisconsin, and unique place to do that up there. It's going to be a great experience, and look so forward to it. We got game 3 of the Pistons and Knicks that night on day 1, but that's why we have multiple TVs in the house, Drew.
Yes, that's right, and it's a beautiful thing. Thank you, Coach, again. Appreciate the support. Appreciate the words. Hey, everybody, thank you. Appreciate you for watching. Thank you for subscribing and liking the videos. We love your comments. Got a lot of feedback on this year's draft class, which is encouraging. We love that. Keep it up. Weekly content all the time. ESEN Network. We got a Roku channel. We're on there on Saturdays at 7 p.m. every week. For Coach Andy Shield, I am Drew. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next week. This has been the Sports Peninsula Podcast. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Follow us on YouTube so you don't miss an episode at the Sports Peninsula Podcast. You can also follow us on Twitter X. Just look for @SportsP Podcast, and follow us to keep up on sports around the great state of Michigan and beyond. You can also catch our show every Saturday night at 7 p.m. on the ESEN Network channel as part of Roku. When you want to hear all about sports in the great state of Michigan, there is only one, Sports Peninsula Podcast.